Have you ever walked into a supermarket, planning to buy just a few things, and somehow ended up walking through almost the entire store? You came for milk, maybe some bread, a few vegetables. But before you reached the checkout, you've passed hundreds of products. And sometimes, you've added things to your cart that weren't even on your list. There's something interesting about that, because supermarkets aren't simply designed around the products they sell. They're also designed around how you move. Today, we're going behind the billions to discover why supermarkets make you walk through the whole store. Think about the last time you went grocery shopping. You probably had a list. Maybe it was only 5 or 6 things. But supermarkets are rarely designed so that you can grab everything immediately and leave. Instead, you move from one section to another. You pass shelves. You pass promotional displays. You pass products you weren't planning to buy. And every few seconds, your eyes are exposed to something new. From the customer's perspective, this can feel completely normal. You pass shelves. You pass promotional displays. You pass products you weren't planning to buy. And every few seconds, your eyes are exposed to something new. From the customer's perspective, this can feel completely normal. Imagine entering a supermarket with a very specific mission. You need milk, you need bread, you need eggs. That's it. Your brain is focused on completing the mission. But then, you notice something. Maybe a new snack. Maybe a promotion. Maybe a product you've never tried. Maybe something you suddenly remember you need at home. The important part is that the product wasn't necessarily part of your original plan. You discovered it because you encountered it, and that's one of the most important principles in retail. Consumers don't always buy only what they plan to buy. Sometimes, they buy what they notice. This is why product placement becomes so important. The supermarket is constantly determining what will customers see, what will they notice, and what will they walk past. Then there's the shopping cart. It looks simple, but it changes the experience. If you're carrying products in your hands, there's a natural limit to how much you can purchase. But when you're pushing a large cart, there's capacity. One item goes in, then another, then another. And because each individual decision feels relatively small, the total basket can grow without any single purchase feeling particularly important. That's why retailers pay close attention to something called basket size. They don't necessarily need every customer to make one enormous purchase. They benefit from thousands of small additional decisions. One extra snack, one extra drink. Small decisions, repeated millions of times, can become very large numbers. Now consider where essential products are located. Think about the things people visit supermarkets for most often: milk, bread, produce, meat, dairy, household essentials. If every essential product were positioned immediately beside the entrance, customers could potentially walk in, collect what they need, and leave. But when different categories are spread throughout the store, the journey becomes longer, and that journey creates exposure. You might walk past drinks, then cleaning products, then seasonal merchandise. You aren't being forced to buy anything. You're simply being given more opportunities to notice products. Now think about what happens when these ideas work together. You enter the store with a list. The layout determines your route. Your route determines what you encounter. What you encounter determines what receives your attention. And attention creates opportunities. Maybe you discover something you actually need. Maybe you see a product you've been curious about. The decision may take only a few seconds, but multiply that decision across millions of shopping trips, and it becomes a serious economic advantage. This is why retailers care so much about the customer's journey. When you put everything together, the supermarket starts to look very different. It's not simply a building filled with groceries. It's a system. The layout influences movement. Movement creates exposure. Exposure creates attention. Attention creates discovery. Discovery creates consideration. And consideration can eventually create a purchase. The important part is that no single decision has to be enormous. One extra product, one slightly larger basket, repeated across thousands or millions of customers. And those small decisions become financially significant. That's the power of retail economics. Small behavioral changes multiplied at enormous scale. And that is why the supermarket journey matters. So the next time you walk through a supermarket, look at it differently. The aisles aren't just aisles. The shelves aren't just shelves. The displays aren't simply decoration. Everything is competing for your attention. And once you understand that, the ordinary supermarket becomes much more interesting. The next time you walk into a supermarket, pay attention to the journey. Notice what you see first. Notice what you have to walk past. Notice what appears at the end of an aisle. And notice how many products you encounter before you finally reach the checkout. You may think you're simply walking through a store, but you're actually moving through a carefully designed business environment. And that's the real lesson. Great businesses don't always need to change what people buy. Sometimes, they simply change the environment in which people make decisions. Because behind every billion, there's a principle.